All right. We got a new video from Dissect Podcast. Big shout out to Dissect Podcast. 1 second applause. Big fan of everything that they do over there. They do the best job, in my opinion, of breaking down the lyrics and intricacies of albums and projects, sitting down with artists who are explaining their bodies of work. They had a phenomenal conversation with Chance the Rapper recently. And yesterday, they dropped a 15-minute breakdown of Mr. Morale. I'm going to take a look at this. We're going to watch this together. We're going to watch about half of it. I don't want to take all the video. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can see it. But there's some things in here that I wasn't fully aware of, and they do such a great job of making what can be complex art forms palatable for the everyman. So let's take a look at this together.
This year, I wrote over 100,000 words breaking down Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The result was season 13 of Dissect, an 18-episode odyssey into every line of every song. Today's video.
Phenomenal work. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you take a look at that too. I mean, it's if you want, if you got the holidays coming up and people over the holidays have more time to catch up on things, that is definitely something most people need to take a look at. 1 second applause.
Video distills all that I learned into a 15-minute masterclass on the album's essential themes, symbols, and narrative structure. By the end, you'll understand how and why Kendrick Lamar constructed Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers like a mirror, a reflection of his own story that ultimately becomes a reflection of ours. And so, without further ado, let's dissect. At the heart of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is the philosophy of spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle, who plays.
He's all over the project. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 different times where he shows up giving advice or giving perspective. I know Whitney references Eckhart Tolle, saying that Kendrick needs to talk to Eckhart at different points. This is what he looks like.
The role of Kendrick's therapist on the album. Tolle's teachings revolve around the shift from unconscious to conscious living. Unconscious life means living through the ego, constantly chasing validation, judging others, and replaying old pain. In this state, we are totally controlled by our past experiences and trauma, unconsciously repeating cycles of suffering, unaware of the underlying motivations that drive our behavior. Conscious life, by contrast, means living with presence and awareness, observing your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. It's stepping outside of the ego's endless need to compare and compete, living fully in the present moment rather than in the trauma of our past.
I didn't mean to hit that tomato, by the way. I'm actually digging this right here. Thoughts are physical. 1 second applause.
Endless need to compare and compete, living fully in the present moment rather than in the trauma of our past or the anxiety of our future. Tolle also argues that our individual struggles inevitably manifest in the collective. He writes that, quote, "The external state of the world is always a reflection of the internal state of the mind." In other words, war and justice.
I say that all the time. I talk about that quite a bit. I've read some Eckhart Tolle. I've read a lot of Miguel Ruiz, Paulo Coelho, a lot of these different thinkers and just people who are really brilliant sources of understanding energy and how it works. And what he said right there, the external state of the world is always a reflection of the internal state of the mind. It's so true. I mean, it's one of the things that I say all the time when I say thoughts are physical. Thoughts are physical, like being in control of our thoughts, being aware of our thoughts. When we think about what we think about has a physical manifestation on the world, or at least how we feel the world around us, right? And it's something that's so intrinsic to me. It's so foundational to me. It's something that's so necessary for me as I go through life. And it was one of the most important things that I ever learned. I talk about this when I talk about J. Cole's The Fall Off, right? He's been talking about this album, The Fall Off, for so long. And energetically, I don't like it. Energetically, I don't think that is the energy that J. Cole fans, those of us who really appreciate J. Cole's status and art and what he's brought to hip hop and his important position in this space, want to hear him talk about. I don't want to hear J. Cole talk about falling off. And he's been talking about it for years. He's been talking about this project, The Fall Off, for years. I'm sure he has a different concept. I'm sure whatever it is whatever it is. But this past year falls in line with that. And I'm not sure if that's a positive thing. So this part right here, the external state of the world is always a reflection of the internal state of the mind. Thoughts are physical. I think about that all the time. 1 second applause.
State of the world is always a reflection of the internal state of the mind. In other words, war, injustice, and corruption are byproducts of living unconsciously through the ego. If we want to heal humanity, we have to begin by healing ourselves individually, awakening to the influences behind our behavior, and choosing to live.
Big facts. I mean, you want to see change in the world, you got to be the change you want to see in the world. 1 second applause.
And corruption are byproducts of living unconsciously through the ego. If we want to heal humanity, we have to begin by healing ourselves individually, awakening to the influences behind our behavior, and choosing to live more consciously and compassionately.
Now, this part is dope. I like this a lot.
These ideas of conscious and unconscious living and the link between the individual and the whole are key to understanding Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The title itself presents both ideas plainly. The Big Steppers represent unconscious humanity, still stuck in cycles of ego, big stepping around unhealed trauma. Mr. Morale represents the individual striving for awareness, compassion, and healing. Together, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is less of a dichotomy and more like a spectrum. Every person contains the potential for both Big Stepper and Mr. Morale. Upbringing, environmental conditioning, and trauma can push someone deeper into unconscious stepping, but the potential for awakening and healing remains within everyone, even the most unconscious.
I always think about this album when I listen to Meet the Grams, particularly that last line. You lied to the only artist that can offer you some help. Like when Kendrick says that, my mind immediately goes to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and what that struggle, what the conversation in that project is really all about. We all have the opportunity to be whoever we want to be, right? We can be Mr. Morale, we can be the Big Steppers. Here you have a battle between probably the two guys of this generation who mirror each other the most. You have Drake with a massive commercial reputation, and you have Kendrick with a more introspective reputation. Now, both of them have succeeded on commercial level, just like you can argue that Drake is very introspective when it comes to things he's experiencing in his own life. But you have two guys who represent arguably two different point of views when it comes to what rap music can be on a commercial level, who've reached heights that few, if anyone else, has ever really reached, going head to head. And the conversation takes place over values, over morality. The conversation ends up being about culture and community. And the way that Drake approached that battle led to everything that happened to him in the aftermath. When truthfully, these are two people who could have been talking the whole time and helping each other out with things that they were going through, and they never actually made it there. But I think about this every time I hear Meet the Grams. You lied to the only artist that could offer you some help. Here's a whole album about it.
And Mr. Morale. Upbringing, environmental conditioning, and trauma can push someone deeper into unconscious stepping, but the potential for awakening and healing remains within everyone, even the most unconscious person. These unconscious and conscious, individual, and the whole dualities are also built into the album's two-disc structure. The first disc, The Big Steppers, focuses more on the external world.
I like this part right here.
Kendrick shows us humanity's dysfunction and admits his own contribution to it. The masks he wears, the ego he wrestles with, and the trauma he sidesteps. The second disc, Mr. Morale, turns inward. This is where Kendrick sits in therapy, removes the mask, and stares into the mirror. Indeed, the mirror is the album's central symbol. Just as each individual reflects humanity, the two halves of the record reflect one another. Each disc contains 9 tracks, balanced perfectly like two sides of a reflection. And like a real mirror, the reflection is reversed. If you reverse the order of disc 2, each song aligns.
Yeah, this is actually really dope. I'm not sure how many of you knew this. If you guys knew this, let me know in the comments section if this is new to you. This is actually a really key point of how the album is structured. So they all align with each other, but when you flip Mr. Morale, it mirrors, they're directly in line with each other, but otherwise they mirror each other. It's the intricacies, man. It's the small things. Great things start in small rooms. Shout out to 3 Stacks.
Lines with a counterpart on disc 1, creating a structural mirror image. For example, Worldwide Steppers reflects Mr. Morale. Rich Interlude mirrors Savior Interlude. N95 is a song about masks, while its reflection, Mother I Sober, is what happens when the masks come all the way off. And again, this structure is a direct expression of Tolle's teachings. The inner world of the individual and the outer world of humanity are inseparable reflections. Change one, and you change the other. Another of the album's central symbols is the mask, a representation of performance, the tap dancing, the people pleasing, the curated image worn for external applause and approval. Together, masks and mirrors form another duality. The mask lets the ego perform, but once removed, we're confronted with the mirror, the truth of who we really are. Building on this theme of performance, Kendrick frames Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers itself as a stage play. Its 2-disc structure functions like two.
There's been a lot of talk about this too. I think most people pick this up, just like Damn feels like a magazine cover. Good Kid, Mad City feels like a movie, I think is what it is. There's always a different sort of medium that's at the center and at the focus of Kendrick's releases. GNX, it feels like a mixtape to me. It feels like, I had and not to say like how we put it out mixtape, but like thematically. Like it's a love letter to Los Angeles, but when I listen to it, it feels like Like I could see a GNX filled with like different people from across the LA community all playing their favorite songs, right? Just based on the samples and the range that they have, you know what I mean? It's like, it feels like a drive with the homies.
2 acts. Act 1, The Big Steppers, is dominated by mass, social roles, and ego-driven performance, while Act 2, Mr. Morale, strips those masks away and forces the protagonist to face the mirror. Theater becomes a perfect metaphor for the performative aspects of our everyday lives Kendrick seeks to expose, each of us adopting roles, following scripts of social consensus, and seeking applause. And given the title Mr. Morale, it's possible that Kendrick specifically staged the album as what's called a morality play, a popular form of medieval theater that dramatized the human struggle between virtue and vice through allegorical characters.
This is dope right here.
Indeed, in Kendrick's morality play, each character represents something larger. Whitney, Kendrick's partner and mother of their 2 children, is the divine feminine, guiding Kendrick toward therapy and holding him accountable. Eckhart Tolle is the mentor or therapist, offering spiritual insights on the ego and pain body, representing the pure embodiment of the Mr. Morale side of the spectrum. Controversial rapper Kodak Black plays the other side of the spectrum, the big stepper, someone living unconsciously, heavily.
He always felt like Flavor Flav to me. You know, if Kendrick is Chuck D, Kodak Black is Flavor Flav on this project particularly. Maybe that's a bad metaphor. Let me know in the comments section. 1 second applause to Kodak Black. I like his new album.
Influenced by their extreme environmental conditioning, perpetuating generational cycles of trauma. And then there's Kendrick Lamar, who gives himself the moniker OK Llama, a name that means my people. As made explicitly clear in the Heart Part 5 music video, OK Llama is the everyman. He is both Big Stepper and Mr. Morale, a protagonist whose inner battle mirrors humanity's, striving toward conscious living but still gripped by unconscious compulsive addictions, unresolved trauma, and grief. Reinforcing the album's theatrical framework are the sounds of tap dancing on a theater stage that are—
You know, people give Dot so much, they try to criticize Dot for having Kodak Black on the project, and I really think there's a large segment of people out there, particularly fans of certain artists, certain stan bases, super fan bases out there, that really just don't get art all the way. You know, like, you want art to impact people. And a lot of times authenticity is the best way to do that. And if you're making a bigger picture, if you're telling a bigger story, you want to have the right pieces that help convey that message, that conversation to the audience. I think Kodak Black is perfect, regardless of all the trauma and all of the challenges that he's had in his real life, that he's experienced as a person, as an artist. For what this album is, I think people should celebrate the fact that there's an opportunity for people, even Kodak Black being a part of this, to understand the bigger message, the bigger opportunity, the bigger dichotomy between Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and what Kendrick's trying to convey on this project. And I really love the way Dissect breaks it down, because he makes it very plain to people. He's making it very plain to people, the role that Kodak Black plays. Now, whether people want to embrace that or not, it's as convenient as a Twitter argument. 1 second applause.
Are heard throughout the album. Every mask we wear, every role we play is another step away from facing the mirror, facing what's real. Once the stage is set, Kendrick steps into the role of protagonist, OK Llama, and the story begins. Disc 1, The Big Steppers, focuses on the external world, painting a portrait of humanity caught in cycles of ego and trauma. Through OK Llama, Kendrick offers himself as both participant and mirror of this collective chaos. In the opening track, United in Grief, Kendrick confesses to masking his unresolved grief and trauma with materialism and sex. His sex addiction is framed as the fatal flaw that threatens the new family he's been building with Whitney. The song's personal refrain, I grieve different, is made universal by the song's end, when Kendrick declares, everybody grieve different.
I love that song so much.
Together with the song's title, this reinforces the framework we've just outlined. OK Llama's individual journey reflects a universal one, a mirror of the human condition. N95 expands Kendrick's critique, exposing the mask society wears. He commands us to take it off again and again, stripping away wealth, status, politics, moral posturing, and
take that mask off. I want to see what's under your achievements. Why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in. 1 second applause.
Curated online identities. Without those masks, who are we, really? The scope widens even further on track 3, Worldwide Steppers, a portrait of Tolle's idea of unconsciousness. Kendrick describes humanity as killers and walking zombies driven by ego and the pain body, always searching for the next fix and perpetuating cycles of violence, addiction, and hypocrisy. Crucially, he doesn't exempt himself from his own diagnosis, citing his own lust addiction as evidence. On Father Time, Kendrick traces his behavior back to its roots, showing how survival tactics are passed down generationally. In his household, stoic masculinity meant dominant, never showing weakness. Kendrick absorbed these codes, burying grief in destructive coping mechanisms like sex. By the song's end, Kendrick widens the lens again, revealing how these same codes reflect a culture of suppressed emotion that has trapped generations of men, a pressure especially potent in Black communities, where systemic racism, poverty, and violence have long branded vulnerability as a liability. This sets the stage for a rich interlude with Kodak Black, who reflects on growing up fatherless and poverty, hustling to survive from a young age. Once a victim of trauma himself, Kodak has also perpetuated it, most notably when he was accused of rape in 2016. His presence raises a central moral question. Do we condemn and exile Kodak outright, or recognize his violence as unresolved trauma while still holding space for accountability and healing? By giving Kodak such a prominent role, Kendrick forces us to wrestle with this moral ambiguity. Track 8, We Cry Together, dramatizes Eckhart Tolle's concept of the pain body, the accumulation of unprocessed trauma.
Crazy heartbeat right there too.
That feeds on conflict. A relationship argument spirals into emotional violence, each partner weaponizing old wounds to inflict new ones. Like Kodak's presence, it's uncomfortable by design, confronting us with what unresolved trauma actually sounds like. Whitney underscores this before the fight begins, saying, quote, "This is what the world sounds like," framing the song as a portrait of cycles of pain repeating across relationships, families, and communities. After the chaos of We Cry Together, the album pivots with Purple Hearts, the final song of Disc 1. Its title evokes medals for wounded soldiers,
tiptoeing and a mud walking,
symbolizing big steppers scarred by trauma. Here at the album's midpoint, Purple Hearts anchors the project by centering God and divine love as the power greater than any vice or mask. Just as the two discs symbolically mirror each other, God here stands at the center of the album as the ultimate source of transformation.
Yo, this is a really great piece by Dissect podcast. I'm not going to play the whole thing here. I want to leave something for people to check out. I'll put a link in the description, but let me know what you think about all of this. I feel like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers wasn't truly discovered until the battle, and I think that Professor Sky's video on this is probably the best, captured it the best. You know what I mean? Particularly on the Heart Part 6, Drake tried to make a reference to this project and just didn't understand the text. And I think a lot of people didn't really understand the text or have the time to sink in the text or the desire to sink into the text. But really looking at how Drake versus Kendrick played out, this project here is foundational to the larger conversation, the larger picture that Kendrick is painting throughout this Shakespearean shakedown. And coincidentally, it's a stage play as well. Shakespearean shakedown, once again. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Make sure you follow and subscribe to Dissect Podcast, the best podcast when it comes to breaking things down. Super clean presentation, super nuanced, and they have the artists there for conversations on that platform as well. My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything, including the Company Man podcast, where we listen to podcasts. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, dog. You don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.